Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. This is webinar number 2 in our series of just merchant education. I'm not going to take too long because the last one went way over schedule, so I'm going to try to make this one a little bit quicker. Customer segmentation is a topic that I think, a lot of people glaze over. Even though it's way too important. I'm not sure why. Again, I've watched so many guru kind of, e-commerce guru videos and podcasts and blog posts and stuff. And just as part of our journey of building our e-commerce apps and for my journey building my own e-commerce store, which I've talked about in my previous webinars. But basically, it's something that I think people glaze over because they don't understand it enough. It can get pretty complicated and it can feel like you're going down a rabbit hole, but I'm going to try to keep this high level and really try to, explain the first principles of what this is, and then hopefully you guys can run with it. So this will be basically a quick 20 minutes. Again, I know last time I wanted to go 20 minutes, but it ended up being 30. But basically, we're going to talk about what customer segmentation is, why it's important, and kind of how to approach it. And then we'll go through my favorite way of segmenting customers, which is the RFM analysis model. So I'll walk through exactly what that is. Then we'll go through like my favorite 11 lists of customer segments. We'll go through each 11, and in going through those, we'll go through again how to leverage each one of those segments and examples that we can do for each one as well. So let's get started. So basically, customer segment, if you guys don't already know, it's basically the practice of separating and segmenting your customers into certain categories or groups. Basically, the high level thinking here is that no two customers are alike, right? Like every customer has a different expectation, every customer has a different amount of budget, every customer has different interest level, right? No two customers are really that identical or exactly identical. So the way that we segment them is by grouping lookalike audiences as one and then treating them as one group or one persona with the relevant content. And that basically goes into why that is because, again, every customer looks and acts differently. And so when we group them together, we can go for specific campaigns that are targeted to maximize the ROI along that customer. So for example, an abandoned cart campaign is going to be very, very different for a customer who is your best customer, who buys from you every week, every month, and spends a lot of money, right? Which again, in turn would look very different from a customer who bought a year and a half ago and who probably forgot that you even exist. So those three customers look very differently, and so you need different campaigns for each one. So, and again, another example is if you were a teacher and you have a group of students, different students are going to be better at different subjects and at different things. And so you as a teacher need to know who those students are. If you're a good teacher, at least, I think the bad teachers will just treat every student like they're the same, but a good teacher will treat every student based on their strengths and weaknesses to make sure that they're all successful at the end of the day. So that's what basically customer segmentation is and why it's important. So in this slide, we're going to look at basically a map. This is like a map of the 11 different segments. You can see them listed here. Don't worry, I'm going to go through all these in detail. But basically, there's this X and Y axis here. This X axis here is basically recency. This, just to quickly let you know, is the RFM analysis model. RFM stands for recency, frequency, and monetary. So R here is the X-axis, which is recency, which is basically how recently someone has bought. The frequency is how many times they've bought, and monetary is total lifetime that they've spent in terms of dollars that they've spent on your store. So you can see the reason we've added frequency and monetary together is because they're highly correlated, right? As people buy more often, it's likely that they spent more. So they're highly correlated. So what we've done is we've just basically added those two numbers together and divided by 2 so that we have the average. All three of these numbers are scored from a scale of 1 to 5. right? So one, get my drawing on. So basically they're scored from 1 to 5, 5 being the best, 1 being the least, obviously. So that means that if a customer bought like today, they would have a recency number of 5, meaning that they are the warmest, the hottest, they are super aware of your brand as of right now. If a customer bought 2 years ago, they have maybe a 0 or a 1 recency, and so they're going to be somewhere, in like somewhere here, right? As for frequency and monetary, again, we talked about it. Frequency is how many times they've bought. If someone's bought, if the most that anyone from your store has ever bought is bought 5 different times, 5 different unique orders, that would be, let's say that's your most purchased customer, then like we give them 5 points. If somebody bought 3 times, then they'd have 3 points. So frequency is 1 to 5. If somebody bought 50 times or 20 times, that's your highest one, then they would also get 5 points. Monetary, again, just the total number of dollars that have been spent, and that's also from a 1 to 5 basis. So if your most valuable customer has ever only spent $2,000 on your store, let's say, then they obviously have 5 points. If a customer only bought a $20 thing once, like a long time ago, that would be someone that maybe might live here, right? So these are the 11 segments. I'm not going to go through these. I'm just putting it here. You can pause the video if you want to look at it, but I'm going to be going through each one of these details coming up. But this slide is just for your information. You can use this if you want for your own kind of detailed analysis later on. So basically, let's start. The first one and most valuable one, obviously, is going to be the champions. I will also say before we go any further is that the goal of marketing, right? The goal of marketing is to, basically create more sales, generate more sales, is to generate more leads and generate more sales, basically to manage the funnel so that you can grow your funnel, right? That's the marketer's job. And so part and parcel of that is to identify each one of your customer segments so that you can maximize, like we said, maximize the ROI from each segment. So the goal of marketers is basically to move people up and to the right, up and to the right. So the goal of marketing is to get these guys over. If someone is a needs attention customer, then we want to move them here and then slowly move them here. So again, this is the goal of marketing. Now, this most ideal customer, right, is the champion customer. So this is a customer that's bought really recently. That's why they have a score of 5, right? So they're up here, and they buy very often and spend a lot, right? Data shows that the more often you buy, the more that you will average on average spend as well, and the more money that you spend. So again, this is a customer that has, let's say, a 5x5 or a 4.5 or a 4.5 on both of these numbers. So this is considered a champion customer, right? These are your best customers. And so what should you do? What should you do with these customers, right? You're obviously not going to be sending them you shouldn't be sending them discounts because they're already going to buy from you. If you send them discounts, you're kind of diluting your brand. But you do want to reward them, right? Reward them with points, reward them with gift cards, reward them every once in a while, send them exclusive offers. That's the type of stuff that you want to do. So that's like basically one actionable, one action that you can take on them. Another action that would be highly, preferred is building that one-on-one relationship, right? If most of your customers aren't gonna be champions, right? If you have 100 customers, you might only have 4, 3, 5 champions out of 100 customers, right? Again, these are very, very high spenders. And so there's no reason why you shouldn't have a one-on-one relationship with these customers. Even if you had 1,000 customers in total, even if you have 10,000 customers, you're not too big to develop one-on-one relationships with your best customers. If you have 10,000 customers and of those 10,000, you have 50 customers that are the highest spenders, there's no reason why you don't have a one-on-one relationship with all 50 of those customers. 50 is not that big of a number. So again, build those one-on-one relationships. Get them to ask them for your reviews. Ask them to share your content. Ask them to do things like that, because once you have a relationship with these customers, they will do that. And usually, people are friends. Someone's group of friends, their 5 or 6 closest group of friends, are going to have very similar interests to them. So if somebody is a huge spender on your store, it's likely that they might have a group of friends that also might be big spenders. So again, it's really important to develop these relationships, because you could turn one champion customer into 4 champion customers just as a result of them and their friends. So again, asking for reviews. Personally, don't send them an email asking for a review. Call them up, say thank you, show your appreciation, recognize that they are a loyal customer, and then ask for a review organically and naturally. On that note, when you are speaking to them on a one-on-one level, you should also ask for feedback, not just about new products as this is here, but also on your website, right? Because you want to show them that you appreciate their feedback and you appreciate their time, and you acknowledge that this is a really good customer for you. You want to ask them for feedback about the website, right? How was the website? Was it easy to use? Did you find everything you needed? What do you think we could do better? What did you wish we could sell? What else do you wish that you could buy from us? What else do you need, right? Because likely, if these guys, are spending money on, let's say if you're selling shoes and they love that you sell shoes and they always buy from you, well, maybe they'd buy from you if you sold underwear too. Maybe they'd buy from you. Like, they like your customer service. There's some reason why they're buying from you, right? So find out what else they might also buy from you. So get that kind of feedback. And finally, obviously give them exclusive offers, right? Sign them up for a loyalty program. Make sure they're aware of it. Tell them that they're the first to get limited edition releases. Tell them that they're the first to get new offers, and make it clear to them that you do appreciate them. And that's what you need to do, because you don't want to lose these customers. You don't want these champion customers to slowly over time move left. You don't want to do that. So that's why you have to keep that relationship building so that doesn't happen. Okay. Next up, the loyal customers. So again, similar to the champion customers, however, they're probably not spending as much and they may not have bought as recently, but they are loyal customers. So they are considered top spenders and have bought, let's say, above average or most above average recency, right? And again, similar to champions, but you don't necessarily need to, really focus on one-on-one relationships with all of them. Maybe the top of the loyal customers you want to spend one-on-one relationships. You can get them to the champions level, but basically, again, reward them, sign them up for loyalty programs, and then start building those one-on-one relationships. Offer them new offers. Give them sneak peeks for new collections. Again, you want to treat them differently. The attitude that you want to approach these customers with is that, hey, we really respect and we really appreciate your loyalty, and to pay you back for the loyalty, these are the things that we can do for you. So you may not want to discount champions because they're going to spend anyway, and you don't want to leave money on the table. But maybe giving some discounts to older products. But again, you want to show some return for their loyalty. Maybe even it's something like a dedicated account manager, or like give them your personal number, right? As the founder or CEO of your business, be like, hey man, this is my personal number. If you need anything, reach out. That's the type of relationship you want to start building with these loyal customers. Next up, the promising customers. So these are customers that, again, maybe have on average monetary and frequency. So they're not like your top spenders, they're maybe average spenders. But the important thing about these customers is that they're recent. It means that they bought something really recently. That tells you that that your brand is on top of mind for them. And the fact that they spent on average or above average monetary, that they could potentially be really good customers. It's all about really nurturing them, right? It's about giving them those initial offers, right? Recommending other products, telling them that you know what their needs are. Actually, learn what their needs are, right? Reach out, send them an SMS, send them a WhatsApp message or something like that. Send a personal email from you that says, hey, can we talk? I'd love to get feedback. Let me know if you want to schedule a time to chat, and I'd love to chat with you and find out more about your needs. So these are the types of conversations you want to have with these customers that fall in this segment. Next up, new customers. So this is probably the number that is going to be filled up most frequently, right? Everyone is going to start in this category, right? Every single customer that you have and ever have had was at one point or currently is in this category. And so this is one that you should really think about closely, because it's going to determine where a customer is going to go. They're either going to go up or they're going to go sideways. And there's only one way they can go sideways, which is where you don't want them to go, which is to lose them. So you really want these guys to be going up here or going up here, something like that. You don't want them to stay at the bottom of this. And so again, this is why it's really important to really think about this. So a few actions that you can take here is just provide them with a really, really, really good customer experience. I've talked about Zappos a lot, and I'll talk about them again here, but what Zappos does for any new customers that buys shoes from their website is they just upgrade them to overnight shipping. They just eat the cost, right? Even if a customer took the cheapest, slowest shipping option to save money, doesn't matter. Somebody from Zappos will go into their order, manually upgrade them, and make sure that they get it next day or 2 days after. So do that, right? Give a great surprise to the customer, because then they're like, oh, wow, okay. If that's the type of service they give, I appreciate that. And now I know what to expect. And next time I need something, I'm going to go to them. That's the other thing, right? That's what you want to do. Giving early success. So we talked about this already. Giving early success means make them feel good really quickly, right? If you're selling furniture and they have to assemble your product, right? Make it really easy for them to assemble something, right? Send them a free pizza, which is one of the other apps that we have that's launching in the next couple weeks. But basically, send them a free pizza. The app is called Pizza Party that we're developing. Basically, anytime a customer comes in, you have the option to send them a free pizza. We connect the Domino's system. Customer's order comes in, and then you have the chance of sending them a free pizza offer. Basically, just emails them and says, hey, you have a free pizza from us. Here's a link to accept it. They just go in and they tell them what time they want the delivery, and that's basically it. So give them something to feel good about. So again, going back to the furniture assembly, it's like, hey, we know it kind of sucks making furniture, but you know what? To make it easier for you, here's a extra large cheese pizza. Why don't you call over a buddy and make it easier for yourself and give them free pizza to help you with the furniture assembly. So little things like that, you want to give them success up front, because you just sold them a $2,000 bed frame. You want to make sure that they're having a good time with it, because next time they need a nightstand, or they need a new mattress, or they need a couch, they know that they can count on you to give them a really good service. Thirdly, this, I don't know why people don't do this, but not enough of us merchants are doing this. Just say thank you. Even if you don't have time to do all these other extra fancy things, just send a personalized email. It doesn't even have to be personalized. Just make it look like it's personalized. That just says, hey man, thank you for trusting us. We're a small business. Every dollar that comes in, we really, really appreciate that. We really appreciate your trust. Again, if you need anything, let me know. Just say thank you. One of the other webinars we have coming in the next couple of weeks is going to be around the 5 benefits of saying thank you. And it goes into really details of scientific, emotional, physical kind of changes and attitudes that change by just saying thank you. It's really interesting. And lastly, again, this goes without saying, same thing. You want to start building that relationship. Think about what can we do to build a really good, long-term, solid, bulletproof relationship. Again, Scout helps you with this, because you can tell Scout to let you know anytime you have a new customer, and then Scout will alert you, hey, you just got a new customer, here's information, tap, and you can contact them right away. So use Scout for that. That's what we've built it for. Next up, this one is, again, it's inside the other box, but this is the abandoned checkouts. So abandoned checkouts, the next webinar I'm actually going to record right after this one, pre-record right after this one, is basically how to tackle abandoned checkouts. So if you want to go into a deep dive, that'll be in the next webinar. But again, quick, high level, these are customers that technically should have a 0 frequency and a 0 monetary, because they haven't spent any money yet. That's why they're really kind of there at the bottom. But they're super recent. They just abandoned their checkout, right? They're super, they almost spent money. They had their credit card out. They almost bought, but something happened and they didn't do it. Right. So this is, you don't want to lose this customer, right? Customer acquisition, is already hard and is already expensive. So don't lose someone when they were right at the door, like right about to check out at your counter. Like, you don't want to lose that customer. So again, the way you tackle that, a lot of people use those auto email campaigns. Great, do that. Send a three-step auto email abandoned cart campaign. But again, based on what you sell and based on what the kind of service you offer, I would recommend seriously looking into contacting each one of these customers personally. I'll go with my example. That's actually how Scout started. When I was running my own store, I was having an abandoned checkout problem. I talked about this in our very, very first webinar that talks about what Scout is. But basically, I had this abandoned cart problem. Almost one of every 3 sales I was getting was an abandoned checkout. And that's like 33% of my sales, man. I could have made 33% more money if I was just collecting those abandoned checkouts. And my auto emails were only working like 10 to 15% was my recovery rate. So I just started calling them. I was like, the average order is about $100, $80. Why don't I just call them up and see what's going on here and see if I can't close the sale or learn more about their needs and why they didn't trust me to run their needs, meet their needs. So I just started calling everyone and just offering a really good pre-sale customer service. I was calling it, what's the word that I use? Complimentary pre-sale customer service. I know that you all almost bought from us. Again, not here to sell, but just want to understand what your needs are to see if we're a good fit. And then just learn about their needs. And then based on what they tell you, that's how you position yourself. And that's what I was doing. But again, the reason I'm mentioning this here is because when you have that first conversation, one-on-one conversation, even before they then spent any money with you, that shows them that you care. And what that's going to do is that's going to create a really good long-term relationship. How I knew this worked was after I was using Scout for my own store for about 12 months, almost a year, I went and looked at my top customers. I basically created like a leaderboard of all my customers and I ranked them. And the top 10 were basically people that had spent over $700. Everyone in my top 10 had spent over $700 in my store, which is quite substantially larger than what my average order value is. I have about 2,000 customers. And so the top 10, is obviously 10 out of 2,000 is a small number. So it's easy to manage the top 10. But the top 8 out of my top 10 were actually customers that had abandoned their checkout first. This was really super interesting for me. It really opened my eyes because that really just blew my mind that I would not have had 80% of my top customers if I didn't pick up the phone and recover the sale. So what happened was not only did I recover the sale, but that pre-sale customer relationship set the tone for what they could expect in terms of customer service from me and brand experience from my store. And that earned the trust. And then they continued to keep buying from me because of that. And so that really just told me is that when you have, this is why it's so important that when you have that pre-sale customer service, they're going to end up becoming better champion and better, loyal customers. So again, don't ignore your abandoned checkouts. This is a very, very important and crucial segment that you have. Next up so we talked about sending auto email. Again, I would call them up, but I'll also say, hey, I already sent you an email as well if you want to check it out and recover. And what happened when I was using it is my recovery rate went to 55%. So I went from 10% to 55% abandoned cart recovery. It was like thousands of dollars extra per month for just like 5 minutes per day of phone calls. So again, check out Scout if you're not already using it. It'll change your business. It changed my business. Last up, retargeting. So this is, again, these are not everything you can do, obviously, but these are the top kind of most easiest things that you could do. Retargeting through Facebook, right? Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you retarget someone that almost bought, right? Send them an offer, bring them back, tell them about what they can expect in terms of customer service, make a case for yourself. They almost bought from you, right? Just remind them. Okay, next up are the warm leads. So these are customers who have bought, but they, and they have an above average recency, but they didn't spend too much, and you don't want to wait too long and not say anything to them, because if you do, you're going to end up losing them. And if you lose them, then it becomes really hard to get them back, right? Once they start going this way, this is a customer that's starting to go sideways. So you want to catch them before really they go too far more sideways. And so again, this conversation needs to be different. You want to create a follow-up campaign, right? Let's say if you're selling protein powder, and it's been, let's say at this point, 60 days or 90 days since their last purchase, well, they're probably running out of protein shake by now, or supplements, or they're running out of whatever it is that they bought. And so because they haven't bought yet, maybe they've already run out, but they haven't rebought. So you want to remind them, hey, we're here. You probably run out of protein powder. Why don't you, here's an offer. Here's 20% off for a refill. Again, keep them coming back, right? You don't want to lose them. So you want to make these limited time offers so that you can reactivate them quickly and not lose the relevancy. Next up, we have cold leads. So this, it didn't slide over. Yeah, there we go, cold leads. So these cold leads basically are warm leads that, again, continue to go sideways. This is like a danger zone because these guys are very close to just being lost. So really you want to, again, have a different campaign. You don't want to waste too much of your time, right? It's most likely that these guys, if they haven't rebought yet, that they're probably going to be lost. So you don't want to spend too much time with them because it might be a wasted effort. But you want to still create some email campaign around content, valuable content, valuable resources. Even if you're selling something like clothing, you want to send them maybe some interviews with celebrities or influencers about the fashion and their fashion choices and kind of how they decide what they're going to wear. Something, maybe not something that you want to actually sell them on something, but something just kind of keep them engaged, give them something to nibble on, give them something to remind themselves about your brand, right? Something useful. So you could do that. Again, you could also be recommended other popular products. Maybe they just haven't bought because they don't like anything on your store anymore. They've already bought what they liked and they don't like anything else. So maybe recommend popular products, or again, ask for feedback. You could do that. You could do that as well. Hey, we've noticed that you haven't bought for a while, but you used to be a good customer. Is there something that you wish we sold? Right? Just try to engage them. Try to get them to be re-engaged with your brand. And again, offer them just small discounts or gift cards. And if they used to be kind of loyal and they've bought from you from the past, and let's say that they have any points accumulated with you, then remind them, hey, you have 20 points with us, right? Something like that. But again, you can already start seeing that the way that you communicate with each one of these customers is different, right? You wouldn't talk to this cold lead customer the same way that you would talk to a promising customer. You wouldn't. You'd be kind of wasting your time. You have to start understanding how to differentiate these two. Next up, needs attention. So these are customers that have on average recency, on average monetary and frequency spend with you, and so you don't want to lose them either because they've spent more than they're on average in terms of they've spent more than your least spending. They're on average with their spending, and again, they're at risk of being lost or sleeping. So you want to make sure that you're talking to them with something relevant, and you want to help them make a purchase soon before they really get to the very end, right? You don't want them to be near this line. So stop them from reaching this area, get them to stay where they are or move up, right? We want to move these guys here, move these guys here, move these guys like that. That's where we want to get them. So again, follow up with new services or products. If you haven't talked to these, if it's been like 6 months since you've talked to them or reached out, send them something, right? A new product, a new release, a new collaboration, some news, something like that, just again to let them know that you're still on the scene and that you're still doing what you love and that you still have passion for what you do and that you're just waiting to service them. Right? Remind them about that. I was reading this book called Never Lose a Customer. I think Raghav took it home. But basically, the book was talking about how the majority of customers are lost, not because they didn't like the service, but just because they forgot. Even customers that had a really good experience and said that they would buy again from a brand end up not buying again only because they forgot when they were ready to buy. They found somebody else and they bought with them. So you want to stay relevant so that when they are about to buy something, you need to buy something, they remember you. So that's what you need to do. Again, this email campaign needs to look different. So again, offer proactive support, call them up. Be like, hey, it's been a while since we last talked. Just wanted to reach out if you guys need anything. Maybe you don't have to do that with all of them. You might have a very large, like this one might be a very large list of customers because it does look like the most average. So if it's the most average, then you might have the most number of people here. So I would say don't expect to call every single one of these people, but reach out to a few of them that you think would be interesting to talk to. Just talk to them. And then again, win them back with discounts. Let them know, we appreciate them. I took the example with the protein powder earlier. This one makes more sense, right? If they've been buying protein powder for 4 or 5 months from you and then they haven't bought in 2 months, now it's like, okay, well, what happened? Like, we thought we had something special here, whatever it is, reach out, offer them, find out what's going on, right? It's just, at the end of the day, even if it's not to make the sale, it's for feedback, right? Learn from these customers because on average, it's going to be your most population. So you want to make sure that you can learn how to move them, and you can only learn how to move them if you know who they are and what they need, right? So that's why it's really important to talk to them. And Scout has this feature as well. You can just basically tell Scout, remind me every time, like remind me 90 days when 90 days passes from someone's last purchase, right? If we go 90 days without making a repurchase to someone, let me know who they are, and Scout can do that for you. Okay, next up we have your shouldn't lose customers. Now this is a really interesting segment, and I think a lot of us have customers here, and these are super high value, super high opportunity customers. But basically, these are customers that have bought the most, right? These guys have spent a lot of money on our store. The only problem is it might have been years since their last purchase, right? So if your store is 4 years old, these are customers that bought like 3 or 4 years ago, right? And so, this is something where you don't want to lose them because these are your biggest spenders. These are potentially people that have a lot of extra money. These are potentially people that make a lot of money. These are potentially people that just really, really used to love what you did, but for some reason they stopped buying from you. And you need to find out who these customers are because their LTV is too high, and they could end up being even bigger spenders if you just have them come back. So you want to win them back, right? Reach out personally. I would reach out personally. I know I haven't written that here, but I would reach out personally to these customers and say, hey man, it's been a year since you last purchased from us. It's been 3 years since you last purchased from us. My name's Ahmed. I'm the founder of the business. Really miss having you because we really appreciate you. Not just to bring you back, but the call really is focused on getting feedback from you. Like, what is it? Did we do something wrong? We'd love to learn and get better. So if you approach it from this conversation of, we just want to, like, we're a small business and we need to grow and we need to maintain, and you might have a great insight that we could use to keep growing. So don't be pushy with the sale. Just show them that, recognize them, A, and then B, let them know that we want to get better and we want your feedback so that we can get better. So yeah, and then in terms of creating win-back campaigns, again, you'll know what's best for your product. If your product is, you might have a product that that's different in the sense that, let's say you sell something, let's say you sell furniture, and that customers don't need a bed every 2 or 3 years. That a customer might only buy a new bed after every 10 years. So you'll know, right? You'll know based on what you sell, what that timeline should look like. So if it's getting to that point where, hey man, it's been 10 years since this person last bought, let's follow up, right? Let's see, do they need a new bed now? And so that's why I think this is a really interesting segment. But just don't lose them to competitors, right? These guys are high spenders. If you lose them to a competitor, it's your competitor that's going to end up achieving a really good customer, right? Again, remind them of unused gift cards or loyalty points. Likely, if you had a loyalty program at the time when they were buying, they probably have a lot of points saved up. And if they haven't used their points, just let them know, man, you have like 1,000 points with us. Why aren't you using them? Try to bring them back. Next up are the sleepers. Again, these are above average spenders, but again, they haven't spent in a really, really long time. Again, you want to bring them back. They are, at the end of the day, they are above average spenders. And so you want to bring them back because you want to keep above average spenders on your store, because if you have more above average, the new average is higher, right? So you want to have higher averages. Send personalized emails. Again, it doesn't have to actually be a personalized email. You might have too many people on this list, thousands potentially, and you know obviously you can't reach out to thousands of people, but make it look personalized, right? Just make it sent from your email address, make it look very simple, end it with a sent from by my iPhone, make it look like it's super personal, and try to kind of reactivate them. You might want to offer these guys discounts as well, since they're not the highest spenders. They're not like, they might be people that are at the end of the day price conscious. So give them some offers, and again, remind them about loyalty points or gift cards that they might have unused. Last but not least, actually last and least, are your lost customers. These are customers that, again, they didn't really spend much. They haven't spent in a really long time. I wouldn't focus too much on them. I would send an auto email, some campaign to try to revive interest. Tell them, maybe every now and then send them something, hey, check out what we've done, but keep your effort low. Don't overthink this too much. You're better off spending your time and attention on the other segments. Once somebody reaches this segment, if you've been actively, targeting your new customers with the right content, and then actively targeting your warm leads with the right content, and then actively targeting your cold leads with the right content, and your needs attention with the right content, and they still end up coming there, then likely they won't come back. So again, if you're doing this right, and if anyone lands here, then don't spend too much time, because probably your efforts will be wasted. Since they probably won't buy anyway, don't really focus on discounts. If you give them a discount on something, they'll just treat your brand like a sub quality brand, or they won't have. You'll be diluting your own brand there. So that's basically all of them. So basically, at the end of the day, I know I've talked about using Scout a lot, but this is really big because that's why we built Scout. Scout is all about telling you who your customers are, where on that map they fall. So anytime a customer becomes a new customer, or a customer becomes a loyal customer, or a customer becomes a sleeper customer, or a needs attention customer, Scout will tell you. It says, hey, Ahmed, so-and-so just became a new customer. This is their list. This is their information. Maybe you want to reach out. Or so-and-so customer just became a champion customer. Why don't you reach out? So basically, that's what Scout does, right? And it allows you to create those one-on-one conversations. It won't tell you about all 11 segments. It'll tell you about 4 or 5 of the segments, but they are the segments that you do want to have one-on-one conversations with. So that's why Scout's important. That's why we built Scout. It really helped to change my business, so we made it for everybody else here. So what else you can do is, if you don't want to use Scout and you want to get even more detailed and have all 11 segments and map this out for your own business and have your own diagram like I showed you in the slides, just export your customer lists, right? Do the analysis. Anyone in the top 20% of recency, frequency, or monetary, sort them that way, right? The top 20% are 5s. The next 20% are 4s. Give them a score of 4. The next 20% give them a score of 3. The next 20% give them a score of 2. The last 20% give them a score of 1. And basically see what your kind of customers look like. Everyone's going to have a different looking map. You might even have a very, very different map based on what you sell, right? Like if you're selling toilet paper and you need to sell more every week, that's obviously going to look different than if you're selling furniture, where the buying cycle is really long. So you have to keep that in mind. Just use your best judgment. And then, like I said earlier, you want to create specific campaigns, specific messages for each one. So think about what that messaging will be like, right? What do you want to say to your best customers? What do you want to say to customers that need attention? So start thinking through what an email drip campaign might look like for each one of these different segments, and just start using them. You can use apps like MailChimp or Klaviyo, or even I think Drip is another one that's really cool. So you can use these email systems to do that, and then and keep updating your email, your segments, your Excel file of customers in each segment, and then upload every month to your email campaign manager, so that all your lists are always updated. Cool. So that's it. Upcoming, the next one I'm actually going to record now. I'm going to pre-record it, but it is called Tackling Abandoned Checkout. So we're going to go into detail around that abandoned checkout segment. So cool, man. Thanks for your time. Hope you guys like it. Stay tuned.